Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we shall now take up agenda item 3. It's a follow-up on the ministerial declaration on building a secure, sustainable, and interconnected energy future for Asia and the Pacific. Sub-item 3A, review of progress made towards achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7 in Asia and the Pacific. The document pertaining to this agenda item is ESCAP/CE4/3 on review of progress made towards achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7 in Asia and the Pacific. The committee's consideration of this agenda item will begin with a presentation from the Secretariat with a summary of the activities carried out by ESCAP in support of the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal 7 since the third session of the Committee on Energy held in 2021. Then the floor will be open for intervention. The Secretariat, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. Allow me to give a quick summary of the key points of document ESCAP/CE4/3, which discusses the progress towards reaching SDG 7. And across the different targets that comprise SDG 7, there is no one single narrative. Different elements are moving at different speeds. So firstly, access to electricity. Significant progress has been made to reach 98.6% access by 2023. With the expectation that by 2030 this target will be reached. However, when we look at the other dimension of access to energy, it's access to clean cooking fuels and technology is moving much slower. So that has attained 78.9% of the region's population by 2023, and without significant acceleration in that area, it's unlikely that that target will be reached at the current pace. When we look at renewable energy, we see that while a lot of renewable energy deployment has been taking place, the share of renewable energy has struggled to grow against a backdrop of increasing energy demand growth. Most of the growth has been through modern renewables, as we've seen a decrease in traditional biomass. And so modern renewables have reached 11.2% by 2022. And lastly, in terms of energy efficiency, because SDG 7 sets a target of doubling the improvement rate of energy efficiency, we have seen the good progress being made in the last decade slow down to some extent. And in fact, between 2020 and 2022, the annual improvement rate averaged over that period was only 0.9%. And because of several years of underachievement of energy efficiency improvement, if we are to meet the original SDG 7 target of doubling, we would have to improve energy efficiency by 4% each year to 2020. So that gives a quick summary of the key points of the region's progress against SDG 7 targets. So I will stop there and pass the floor back to Madam Chair.
Thank you to the Secretariat for the information. We shall now proceed to country statements for agenda item 3A. I would like to urge all speakers to adhere to the time limit of 3 minutes to ensure we can hear from all those participating. I also would like to remind delegations that in case of a longer statement, you may provide the Secretariat with the full statement for sharing through the committee website. I now open the floor for country statements. The first speaker is Fiji. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We thank the Secretariat for this comprehensive review. We acknowledge the significant regional progress on electrification, and we concur that progress on clean cooking, renewables integration, and energy efficiency remains far too slow to meet our 2030 targets. This is a stark reality for Pacific Seeds. Madam Chair, Fiji's experience underscores a critical lesson that connection does not always equate to reliable supply. While our electrification rate stands high, our focus has sharply pivoted to the last mile, ensuring reliable and resilient access for remote maritime communities and informal settlements through decentralized renewable solutions like mini-grids and grid extension programs. Fiji is unwavering in its commitment to a 100% renewable energy power sector. A landmark achievement was the commissioning of the Moa Solar Farm, making one of our island, Taveuni, a first 100% renewable powered island, a proof of concept for our national ambition. Improving energy efficiency is a top priority for enhancing our competitiveness and energy security. Fiji, we recognize the urgent need to accelerate our annual improvement rate towards the 4% target. A major challenge for Fiji is that we encounter the balancing ambitious regulation with market realities and strengthening enforcement mechanism, particularly for SMEs. Madam Chair, as a large ocean state with a distributed population across more than 100 inhabited islands, our energy challenges are fundamentally defined by our geography. Through experience, our strategy now deliberately pivots towards building a decentralized and resilient energy system. Recognizing that robust data is the critical foundation for effective policy, Madam Chair, Fiji has taken decisive steps to address historical gaps in our collection systems. The recent adoption of our Climate Change Act provides a legislative framework for enhancing the monitoring of greenhouse gas emissions across sectors. We encourage ESCAP to facilitate deeper knowledge sharing on proven models for clean cooking adoption, mini-grid deployment, and maritime resistant technology standards. Madam Chair, in conclusion, Fiji remains steadfastly committed to achieving SDG 7 and the objectives of the ministerial declaration. And we look forward to collaborating with ESCAP and all members to accelerate action, share solutions, and ensure a just and sustainable energy future for all in Asia Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from Fiji. Next, I invite Delegate from the Republic of Korea. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Republic of Korea welcomes the progress made towards SDG 7 in Asia and the Pacific. However, we also note that progress has been uneven across the three pillars of SDG 7. Near universal access to electricity is within reach, but access to clean cooking solutions remains limited, and the share of renewables is growing, but not fast enough, and improvements in energy efficiency have slowed considerably. These are areas where more focused efforts will be needed if we are to achieve the SDG 7 goals. While drawing inspiration from the report, Korea is mindful of its own structural challenges. A heavy reliance on carbon-intensive industry sectors, limited land and resources, and an isolated power grid. Nevertheless, we are making steady efforts to overcome these barriers and to achieve SDG 7 by expanding renewables, promoting electric vehicles, and driving industrial decarbonization as noted in the report. As a result, renewables surpassed 10% of our power mix for the first time last year, while coal fell to third place after nuclear and gas. Energy intensity also showed modest improvement, reflecting efficiency gains. These advances are reinforced by the new administration's 5-year national strategy, which puts the clean energy transition at the heart of economic renewal, as well as a forthcoming master plan for carbon-neutral industries built on clean power, fuels, and infrastructure. Looking ahead, the Republic of Korea encourages continued regional dialogue under ESCAP, particularly to exchange best practices, mobilize financing, and address persistent gaps. Such cooperation will accelerate progress and ensure that the benefits of the transition are widely shared. Going forward, the Republic of Korea will contribute by sharing our experiences and lessons learned, including on green transition and industrial decarbonization. We also support ESCAP's role in tracking regional progress and in providing a platform where member states can jointly assess achievements and identify solutions to remaining gaps. Above all, we believe that ensuring universal access and accelerating efficiency gains must remain central to our cooperation, so the transition delivers tangible benefits to all people in our region. I thank you.
Thank you, delegate from the Republic of Korea. Next, I invite the delegate from the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Уважаемые участники сессии, ситуация в мировой энергетике характеризуется активной структурной трансформацией всего энергетического сектора. Положение дел с выполнением в Азиатско-Тихоокеанском регионе ЦУР-7 остается сложной. Для достижения поставленных повесткой 2030 энергетических целей необходимо способствовать справедливому и недискриминационному международному сотрудничеству в области энергетики, внедрению передовых и экономически эффективных технологий, обеспечению устойчивости потоков инвестиций, стабильности и предсказуемости предложения и спроса на энергоресурсы и энерготехнологии. В этом контексте важнейшее значение имеет соблюдение принципа технологической нейтральности и использование всех доступных современных видов энергогенерации, современных технологических решений с учетом социально-экономической и природно-географической специфики государства. В этой связи мы отмечаем продвижение газотурбинных электростанций, маломодульных атомных энергоустановок, современная гидрогенерация, строительство различных очистных установок для традиционных теплоэлектростанций. Все это позволит одновременно решать задачи обеспечения растущей потребности региона в энергии и сдерживания выбросов парниковых газов. Считаем принципиально важным совместно работать над обеспечением доступности и внедрением новейших технологических решений. Россия обладает целым спектром прогрессивных наработок в этой сфере. В числе значимых инноваций выделяются малые модульные реакторы, уникальные возможности которых с точки зрения повышенной безопасности, транспортной мобильности, эффективности, экономичности создают благоприятные условия для электроснабжения удаленных или малонаселенных районов, теплоснабжения локальных потребителей, особенно в тех регионах, где отсутствуют развитые электросети или промышленная инфраструктура. Поэтому мы убеждены, что перспективное развитие сотрудничества, направленного на продвижение атомных энергосистем четвертого поколения, прежде всего удобных в строительстве, доставке, эксплуатации малых модульных реакторов малой мощности, имеет хорошие перспективы. И Россия, как известно, является признанным лидером в этой области, располагая самыми передовыми и экономически высокоэффективными решениями на базе реакторных установок Брест, БН, СВБР-100. В этой связи, в заключение, мы предлагаем включить в итоговый документ нынешней сессии комитета соответствующую рекомендацию на английском. The committee, acknowledging the potential of research on clean energy technologies and the development, deployment, commercialization, availability, accessibility, and affordability of such technologies for supply and affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, thus accelerating the pace of progress towards SDG 7, invites its members and associate members to enhance international cooperation to facilitate access to modern civil nuclear technologies such as small modular reactors, innovative designs that are inherently safer, more economically feasible, and have a better fuel efficiency. Мы передадим в секретариат эту формулировку рекомендации на английском языке. Спасибо.
Thank you, delegate from the Russian Federation. Next, I invite delegate from Bangladesh. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. Bangladesh aligns itself with the statement delivered on behalf of the Asia Pacific Group and wishes to share our national experience in advancing Sustainable Development Goal 7. Bangladesh has made remarkable strides in ensuring universal access to electricity, achieving full electrification in 2022. This progress was driven by large-scale grid expansion, decentralized renewable energy solutions, such as solar home system and effective public-private partnerships. Today, almost every household in Bangladesh is connected to modern energy services, which has transformed rural livelihoods, education, and economic opportunities. However, challenges remain in clean cooking solutions. A significant portion of rural households still rely on traditional biomass. Bangladesh is intensifying efforts to scale up access to clean cooking fuels and technologies through improved cookstoves distribution, liquefied petroleum gas expansion, and exploration of biogas and electricity-based cooking. Addressing affordability and cultural acceptance remains a key policy priority. Respected Madam, on renewable energy, Bangladesh is steadily diversifying its energy mix. Solar energy adoption has expanded significantly, supported by enabling legislation and international financing. The government has set ambitious targets to increase renewable generation capacity, including solar parks, rooftop solar, and wind energy projects, while also exploring cross-border energy trade for regional energy security. In energy efficiency, Bangladesh has introduced policies for efficient appliances, industrial retrofitting, and energy audits. Yet, progress needs to accelerate to meet the 2030 targets. With appropriate financing, technology transfer, and capacity building, Bangladesh is committed to improving efficiency across industries, building, and transport. For countries like Bangladesh, achieving SDG 7 is not only a matter of sustainability but also of resilience. Access to clean, affordable, and modern energy underpins our climate commitments and economic transformation. We therefore call upon ESCAP and development partners to scale up technical cooperation, consensual financing, and regional knowledge sharing. Stronger South-South and regional cooperation, including power trade and clean energy investment, will be critical. Bangladesh stands ready to work with all partners in building a secure, sustainable, and interconnected energy future for Asia and the Pacific. Thank you very much.
Thank you, delegate from Bangladesh. Next, I invite delegate from India. You have the floor.
Madam Chair, Government of India has embarked upon clean energy transition through focused development of renewable energy and increasing energy efficiency while ensuring access to affordable energy, which is paramount for sustainable development and climate change mitigation. As part of its commitment to address climate change, India targets to achieve 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel energy capacity by 2030, meet 50% of energy needs from renewables by 2030, reduce total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons by 2030, decrease the carbon intensity of the GDP by 45% by 2030, and achieve net zero emission by 2070. In its updated NDC to UNFCCC in August 2022, India targeted to achieve about 50% cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel-based energy resources by 2030. Madam Chair, India has achieved this target in the month of June 2025 itself, that is 5 years ahead of its commitment. The implementation of renewable energy has witnessed more than 7-fold increase from 32 gigawatt in 2024. It's 2014. The emission intensity of grid electricity has dropped by almost 7% in the last 10 years due to renewable energy. In order to increase the share of renewable energy in the energy mix of country, various steps have been taken, including increase the renewable purchase obligation to 43% by 2030. India has issued guidelines for pumped storage plants, which reflects a robust and evolving strategy to enable large-scale energy storage, essential for harnessing intermittent renewables by offering multifaceted incentives, simplifying regulatory hurdles, and setting aggressive capacity targets. The Government of India has launched National Green Hydrogen Mission in January 2023. The mission aims to make India a global hub for the production, utilization, and export of green hydrogen and its derivatives. One of the objectives of this mission is to decarbonize the economy. Liquefied petroleum gas and electric cook stoves are gaining prominence as a means of bridging the clean cooking gap. India has set a target to raise the share of natural gas in energy mix to 15% in 2030 from about 6.3% now. To achieve the target, various initiatives including expansion of national gas grid, expansion of city gas distribution network, setting up of liquefied natural gas terminals, etc., are being undertaken. India's non-fossil fuel energy capacity has tripled, and that India is the first G20 country to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. India's capacity in ethanol blending has also increased to a current rate of 19%, leading to foreign exchange savings, substantial farmer revenue, and significant reduction in CO2 emissions. During India's G20 presidency, the Global Biofuels Alliance was established, and it is continuously expanding, now involving 28 nations and 12 international organizations. The alliance is transforming waste into wealth and setting up centers of excellence. In order to accelerate energy efficiency adoption, India is implementing various energy saving schemes in the sector of industries, building, appliances, transport, and municipal area. Government of India has also been working towards promoting electric vehicles to meet multiple objectives like attaining zero emission goals, energy security, and energy efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from India. Next, I invite Delegate from China. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my great honor to attend today's meeting and share China's experience in promoting the green transition of power system in pursuit of achieving SDG 7 goals. The top priority of China's power sector is straightforward: to meet the fast-growing electricity demand and sustained economic growth. For more than a decade, China's electricity consumption has remained a medium to high growth rate. For more than a decade, in the first half of this year, our consumption has reached around 4,800 terawatt hours. To meet this demand, China has built the world's largest power system with the total installed capacity over 3.6 terawatt. Despite the rapid growth, our system remained flexible and used in the dynamic balance between supply and demand. But the real transition, however, lies in the greening of the power capacity. In the mid-25, the proportion of renewable energy capacity in China has reached around 59%. In power grid, the length of China's transmission lines of 220 kilowatt and above has reached around 968,000 kilometers, forming the world's largest power system. The reliability in major cities is at globally leading levels. Technological breakthroughs are also reshaping our power system. The offshore wind power, advanced PV power, and hydrogen production have all achieved the critical breakthroughs. On the market side, in the first half of this year, the market-based transaction in China has accounted around 61% of the total electricity consumption. At United Nations General Assembly in September 2020, our President Xi Jinping announced China's strives to achieve peak carbon emission before 2030 and carbon neutrality before 2060. To translate this target into concrete actions, our International Energy Administration of China has released the National Blue Book of the Power System Development of China. This document mapped out 3-step pathways with 9 priority actions from 24 to 27. Achieving SDG 7 goals requires not only the national efforts, but also the stronger regional and international cooperations. China stands ready here to share our experience, to contribute our knowledge, and hope to cooperate with all the partners around the world. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate from China. Next, I invite the delegate from the Philippines. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Philippines reaffirms its full commitment to advancing Sustainable Development Goal 7, ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Through the Department of Energy, we have continued to expand energy access, promote renewable energy, improve energy efficiency, and support just and inclusive energy transition policies. As of this year, the Philippines has achieved about 95% household electrification through the ongoing implementation of the Total Electrification Program, which targets last-mile communities, including off-grid and island barangays. Renewable energy-based microgrids and solar home systems have played a key role in reaching underserved areas. To scale up clean energy development, the DOE has expanded our Green Energy Auction Program, awarding additional renewable energy capacities for delivery in the coming years. This initiative supports the national goal of increasing the renewable energy share to 35% by the year 2030 and 50% by the year 2040. The country is also advancing energy efficiency as a key pillar of energy security and sustainability. Under the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, large energy-consuming entities are now required to adopt energy management systems and report annual energy consumption. Minimum energy performance standards and labeling programs continue to be strengthened across sectors. We have also achieved reduction in energy intensity measured in terms of primary energy consumption per unit of gross domestic product, in line with our national energy efficiency targets and commitments. Continued efforts to decouple energy use from economic growth remain central to our sustainable development strategy. The Philippines has also maintained its moratorium on new coal-fired power plants and is facilitating a just energy transition that balances climate action with inclusive economic development. Key to this transition are grid modernization efforts, including the completion of the Mindanao-Visayas Interconnection Project, which links the major island grids and enables more efficient sharing of power generation across the country. Finally, we acknowledge the importance of regional cooperation under UN ESCAP and ASEAN frameworks. The Philippines supports knowledge sharing, capacity building, and cross-border energy initiatives that promote a resilient and inclusive energy future for the Asia-Pacific region. The Philippines remains steadfast in its commitment to SDG 7 and looks forward to strengthening collaboration with fellow member states and development partners as we work together toward a clean, affordable, and secure energy future. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from the Philippines. Next, I invite Delegate from the Federated States of Micronesia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Federated States of Micronesia wishes to thank the Secretariat for the comprehensive review of progress towards achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7 in the Asia-Pacific region. We commend the efforts of ESCAP and members states in advancing affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. FSM recognizes the critical importance of SDG 7 in our national development and climate resilience agenda. In this regard, we are proud to have endorsed our SDG 7 roadmap in May 2025 with valuable support from UNESCAP. This roadmap provides a strategic framework to guide FSM's energy transition, focusing on expanding access to clean and affordable energy, increasing renewable energy deployment, and improving energy efficiency across our islands. We acknowledge the regional progress highlighted in the document, particularly the near universal access to electricity. In FSM, we have made significant strides in electrification, yet challenges remain in ensuring reliable and affordable electricity supply to all our remote and outer islands. Access to clean cooking solutions also remain a priority as many households continue to rely on traditional biomass, which poses health and environmental risks. FSM is actively addressing energy efficiency as a key pillar of our sustainable energy future. We are collaborating with the World Bank to develop a comprehensive energy efficiency policy and minimum energy performance standards, which we anticipate endorsing in 2026. This policy will establish mandatory standards and promote energy-saving technologies in buildings, appliances, and public infrastructure, helping to reduce energy intensity and lower cost of our communities. We also recognize the importance of regional cooperation and knowledge sharing, especially in the overcoming the unique geographical and infrastructural challenges faced by small island developing states like the FSM. We welcome continued technical and financial support from ESCAP, development partners, and regional initiatives to accelerate our energy transition. In closing, FSM reiterates its commitment to achieving SDG 7 targets and contributing to the broader regional goals of a secure, sustainable, and interconnected energy future. We look forward to working closely with ESCAP and fellow member states to share experiences, mobilize resources, and implement innovative solutions that benefit all people of the Asia-Pacific region. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from FSM. If there are no more country statements, I will now open the floor to international organizations. I recognize the UN Habitat. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the floor. Excellency, I'm grateful to speak today on behalf of the United Nations Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat. Cities account for about 70% of the world energy consumption and the greenhouse gas emission. In the Asia-Pacific, rapid urbanization is driving demand even further. The region already consumed about 50% of the global energy, a share that continues to grow as the city expands. Building lies at the center of this trend. Their construction and cooperation account for massive and growing share of the national energy use. At the same time, access to energy remains high unequal, with millions of people in informal settlements, underserved near neighborhoods, urban area, and remote communities still forced to rely on unsafe and polluted resources. Meeting the SDG and the Paris Agreement require a shift to sustainable and accessible energy with localized transition and community-led solution. Clean, decentralized system must be embedded in housing, slum upgrading, and urban planning so that no one is left behind. UN Habitat, together with partners, already put this vision into practice. In Pakistan, solar home system support climate-resilient housing recovery after 2022 floods, and in Cambodia, pilot house in variable coastal area combine off-grid solar with resilient design, enforcing structure, reducing heat, and harvest rainwater, protect the most vulnerable while extending access to clean energy. To scale up these approaches, UN Habitat is tackling the climate and the cost of living crisis through energy poverty intervention and in Asia Pacific, and through the sustainable urban resilient for next generation. We also drive to connect local, national, and global level of climate action, aligning urban energy transition with NDS and national policies. Guided by our new strategic plan and the new urban agenda, UN Habitat is committed to mobilize innovative finance, deepening the partnership and working with countries, cities, and communities across the region to accelerate inclusive energy transition. In doing so, we can advance the SDG 7 and SDG 11, and together we can build greener, fairer, and more resilient city for the Asia Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you to the representative from the UN Habitat. I see that the Islamic Republic of Iran have raised their flag, so I now give you the floor for your country statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my honor to intervene on this very important agenda item at the committee. First of all, I thank the Secretariat for sharing the report on the review of the progress made towards achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7 in Asia and the Pacific. Iran is a country with abundant resources, but caught in a vortex of contradictions between vast resources and low productivity, between imposed unilateral coercive measures and innovations. The energy economy in Iran is a place where the will and the constraints meet. We want to grow, but how when the UCMs are being applied is not in the service of sustainability. This statement is not only an analysis of statistic trends and policy making in the energy sector, but also an invitation to rethink, a rethinking of what the future of energy in Iran should look like and what our responsibility is as policymakers, economists, and development partners towards it. One of the severe impacts of UCMs on energy economy is energy imbalance. Energy imbalance means not only power cut in homes, but also power outage and cuts in the horizon of development. Energy imbalances leads to resources shortages, widespread power outages, and subsequent difficulties in industrial production and the provision of public services. We encourage the ESCAP Secretariat and development partners to remove any barriers regarding the UCMs in the energy economy. We need major decisions, careful planning, and fundamental reforms in energy policies to mobilize investments and transferring new technologies for the development of the new industry, of the energy industry. In this regard, the Secretariat is requested to provide technical expertise in renewable energy development, energy efficiencies, and smart grids to promote the interconnection of regional electricity grids and to facilitate joint projects and cross-border energy corridors through pooled regional investment mechanism. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate from Islamic Republic of Iran. I see no more requests for the floor. I would like to thank you for these informative statements under Agenda Item 3A. We shall now take up Agenda Item 3B, Review of Progress Made in Implementing the Regional Roadmap on Power System Connectivity, Promoting Cross-Border Electricity Connectivity for Sustainable Development. The document pertaining to this agenda item is ESCAP/CE4/4 on progress made in implementing the Regional Roadmap on Power System Connectivity, promoting cross-border electricity connectivity for sustainable development. We will begin with the presentation from the Secretariat on the status of implementation of the Regional Roadmap on Power System Connectivity. The Secretariat, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Under this agenda item, we'd like to start by highlighting the fact that the region is experiencing a surge in electricity demand driven by electrification of end uses and the rise of data center development and AI, requiring capacity expansion and complicating efforts to decarbonize power systems. We see cross-border connectivity as a strategic enabler for achieving energy security, affordability, and for countries where it's relevant, net zero emissions targets. Significant steps have been taken across our region at the sub-regional level, for example, through projects like the ASEAN Power Grid or through tripartite agreements on power trade in South Asia. But we still see challenges, in particular on financing of infrastructure and development of infrastructure, regulatory harmonization to enable cross-border power trade and integration, and alignment with sustainable development. The non-binding regional roadmap on power system connectivity outlines a vision and 9 strategies for an integrated region by 2035. Within those strategies are a number of milestones which have been achieved in the years since the roadmap was endorsed, but further work is needed to strengthen regulatory frameworks, financing, and enable multilateral trade mechanisms. So with 10 years until 2035, now is an appropriate moment to assess the status of the roadmap's implementation and to consider developing new milestones for the roadmap. We do have a decision also under this agenda item, and on the next slide, if we can pull up that text later. Okay. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you to the Secretariat for the information. We shall now proceed to country statements for Agenda Item 3B. I now open the floor for country statements. The first speaker is Mongolia. You have the floor.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, at the outset, I wish to express my delegation's sincere appreciation to work of the Secretariat for their continued efforts to support the Member State advancing sustainable development goals. The Asia-Pacific region stands at a critical juncture in its energy transition as home to 60% of the global population and the source of the half in the world energy consumption and emissions from fuel combustion. The region's energy system must undergo profound transformation to meet a Sustainable Development Goal 7 and broader climate committed under the Paris Agreement. Despite progress such as near universal electricity access, the growing renewable energy investments, significant challenges remain. Fossil fuel still dominate the regional energy mix, accounting for 63% of the consumption and 60% of the emissions from fuel combustion. Renewable energy comprises only 60.3% of the total consumption, and the pace of the energy efficiency improvements has slowed. Madam Chair, Mongolia fully supports the regional efforts to transform energy system, Asia and the Pacific pursuit of the just, inclusive and a sustainable future as a country rich endowed with abundant renewable energy resource, particularly solar and wind. Mongolia recognizes both the responsibility and the opportunity to contribute meaningfully to the regional energy transition. In alignment with the Sustainable Development Goal 7 and our national commitments under the Paris Agreement, Mongolia is advancing efforts to diversify its energy mix, reduce reliance on the coal, and increase renewable energy generation. We are actively working to harness out the West renewable energy potential to support domestic needs, while exploring opportunity to contribute to regional clean energy supply through the cross-border power trade. Madam Chair, our cooperation and the Northeast Asia power system integration initiative, particularly the proceed the China-Mongolia Republic of the Korea electricity connectivity, exemplifies our vision becoming the regional clean energy exporter. Feasibility study completed 2024 and the cross-border wind and solar transmission project is a vital step toward this goal. We see the initiative pathway to position the Mongolia as a regional renewable energy exporter while supporting shared climate and energy security goals. However, we call our regional partners and the development institution to continue supporting the countries like Mongolia, implementing the regional roadmap on power system connectivity and scaling up renewable energy development. Mongolia remains committed to regional cooperation, welcomes the deeper collaboration with development partners and fellow member states, building sustainable, interconnected energy future for Asia and the Pacific. And thank you for attention.
Thank you, Delegate from Mongolia. Next, I invite China. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, on behalf of the National Energy Administration of China, I would like to extend warm congratulations on the successful opening of this session and express sincere gratitude to the ESCAP Committee on Energy for its long-standing support for China's energy development. As we all know, power connectivity is an important means to optimize the allocation of regional energy resources and improve electricity access. Against the backdrop of global efforts to advance energy transition, the key role of power connectivity in supporting countries and regions to build a cleaner, more affordable, and reliable energy system has become increasingly prominent. This also demonstrates that the regional roadmap on power system connectivity is of significant forward-looking and practical guiding significance. On the basis of improving our own capacities under the guidance of roadmap, China has maintained close communication with neighboring countries and actively promoted power connectivity cooperation in accordance with the principle of mutual benefit and win-win results. At present, China has achieved power connectivity with Mongolia, Russia, Myanmar, and other countries, which has strongly promoted the coordinated economic development of relevant countries and regions, guaranteed electricity supply for people's livelihood, and effectively realized mutual supply and complementary of electricity. In the future, we will continue to work hand in hand with all member states to jointly promote the realization of the overall goals of the roadmap. To this end, I would like to put forward the following 4 suggestions. First, deepen policy communication and coordination through efficient, practical, and multi-level government enterprise dialogues. We will promote policy consensus on mutual trust and mutual benefit among member states in the region, advance deeper integration of power markets in Asia-Pacific countries, and build a stable, transparent, and predictable environment. Second, advance top-level design in line with local conditions. Conduct targeted planning and research based on the differences in source endowments and development stages of various member states. Seek the greatest common areas for practical cooperation and provide systematic and forward-looking action guidance for advancing regional power connectivity. Third, promote knowledge and experience sharing. China is willing to continuously promote the sharing of experience, technologies, and services on a broader scale, conduct exchanges with regional countries focusing on key common issues such as cross-border power connectivity, and provide support and cooperation references. Fourth, advance practical cooperation. On the basis of the business principle of mutual benefit, we will actively explore possible paths for cooperation and promote the implementation of more power connectivity cooperation projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from China. Next, I invite the delegate from India. The floor is yours.
Madam Chair, India being centrally located in South Asia region and sharing boundaries with many countries is playing a major role in facilitating planning of electrical interconnections with neighboring countries for effective utilization of regional resources. Transmission interconnections have been established with Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh, and also a radial interconnection with Myanmar. The existing cross-border interconnections of India with neighboring countries can facilitate power transfer of more than 10,000 megawatt. The cooperation with neighboring countries is increasing at a fast pace with additional interconnection capacities under implementation and planning. After signing of the SAARC Framework Agreement for Energy Cooperation Electricity in November 2014, India has made consistent effort to enhance regional cooperation in electricity. Moving in that line, to facilitate cross-border trade of electricity, Government of India issued guidelines for cross-border trade of electricity in December 2016 and later on revised guidelines on import-export of electricity in December 2018. The guidelines have provided a framework for the cross-border trade of electricity with neighboring countries of India as well as across India. In the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, BIMSTEC sub-region, BIMSTEC Energy Center has started functioning since 1st April 2025 to coordinate, facilitate, and strengthen cooperation in energy sector by promoting experience sharing and capacity building. Further, BIMSTEC Grid Interconnection Coordination Committee has been established in 2018 to facilitate an implementation of grid interconnections in BIMSTEC sub-region. The regional roadmap provides a non-binding reference framework for regional cooperation towards achieving power grid integration during the period from 2020 to 2035. However, the efforts for building cross-border links at bilateral level plays major role in this context, which need to be duly recognized. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate from India. Next, I invite the delegate from the United Kingdom. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates. Evidence increasingly shows that greater electricity interconnection can reduce costs and emissions and strengthen energy security and resilience. It can also reduce the drudgery of collecting fuel wood and the enormous health risk posed by indoor air pollution that still blights approximately 1.2 billion people, and especially women and girls in the Asia-Pacific region who rely on traditional biomass and stoves for cooking. For these reasons, the UK is proud to continue to provide significant funding to the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, ASEAN Centre for Energy, and the Green Grids Initiative, among others, to advance the vision of regional markets in clean electricity. This works in the context of the Global Clean Power Alliance launched by the UK and Brazil at the G20 last year. The UK wishes to commend ESCAP for the progress achieved towards this shared goal. I've participated in the expert working group on energy connectivity for the last 2 years, sharing UK experience in grids, interconnectors, and clean electricity transition. So it's from personal experience that I want to thank ESCAP for this work, mapping interconnections, preparing the draft Pan-Asian Master Plan, and developing a framework to enhance the contribution of grids to sustainable development and supporting sub-regional electricity trade initiatives. This has laid a strong foundation. At the same time, challenges remain. Fragmentation is a key issue. This is particularly the case in South Asia, with separate transmission master plans and parallel fora for the various regional cooperation initiatives. While valuable, working in silos risks duplication and inefficiency, and ESCAP is uniquely positioned to bring member states and secretariats together to identify a single path forward anchored in the Pan-Asian Master Plan. Financing will also be decisive. Stronger collaboration with and among the multilateral development banks could result in regional grid financing facilities guided by a common transmission plan and harmonized sustainability criteria, providing investors with confidence and accelerating the transition to clean, interconnected power systems. Many member states require support to access carbon finance for grid investment and to establish the necessary legal and administrative frameworks. Regional cooperation on renewable energy certificates, carbon markets, Article 6, internationally transferred mitigation outcomes, and green bonds could mobilize additional resources for clean electricity trade. So, Excellencies, let me close with 3 priorities. First, let us move from fragmented initiatives to one coherent regional vision. Second, let us collaborate further to build harmonized financing facilities with the support of the MDBs. And third, let us cooperate to unlock both blended and carbon finance to drive regional clean electricity trade for sustainable development. If we do this, in short, ESCAP can help turn regional power connectivity from fragmented plans into a united, well-financed engine of Asia's clean energy transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from the United Kingdom. Next, I invite the delegate from the Federated States of Micronesia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Federated States of Micronesia thanks the Secretariat for the detailed update on the progress made in implementing the regional roadmap on power system connectivity. We recognize the critical importance of cross-border electricity connectivity as a strategic enabler for achieving SDG 7 and accelerating the clean energy transition across the Asia-Pacific region. FSM, as a small island developing state in the Pacific, faces unique challenges related to geographical dispersion, limited grid interconnections, and infrastructure constraints. While large-scale cross-border power trade and grid interconnection are less applicable in our context, we strongly support the principles and strategies outlined in the regional roadmap, particularly those emphasizing regional cooperation, knowledge sharing, and capacity building. In the Pacific, energy connectivity efforts focus on enhancing technical and regulatory cooperation, promoting innovative solutions such as mini-grids, energy storage, and renewable energy integration tailored to island contexts. FSM is actively engaged in regional partnerships that foster these approaches, recognizing that collaboration is essential to overcoming our infrastructural and financial barriers. We welcome the Secretariat's continued support in strengthening regulatory frameworks, facilitating capacity-building initiatives, and promoting investment in resilient and sustainable energy infrastructure, adapted to the FSM's unique needs. We also encourage the committee to consider the development of tailored milestones within the regional roadmap that reflect the realities of small island developing states, ensuring inclusivity and relevance for all member states. FSM remains committed to advancing sustainable energy access and resilience through regional cooperation and look forward to working closely with ESCAP, development partners, and fellow member states to realize a secure, sustainable, and interconnected energy future for the Asia-Pacific region. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from the FSM. Next, I invite the delegate from the Philippines. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is an honor for the Philippines to share our progress and perspectives on advancing the regional roadmap on power system connectivity. Our commitment to this regional vision is reflected in two fronts. Our transformation through the Philippine Power Development Plan, or PDP 2023 to 2050, and our active role in the Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines Power Integration Project, or BIMPPIP, under the ASEAN Power Grid Framework. The PDP 2023 to 2050 charts a bold and future-ready course. We anticipate peak electricity demand to grow from 16,596 megawatts in 2022 to 68,483 megawatts by 2050, requiring not just expansion, but smarter, cleaner, and more resilient systems. To meet this, we have targeted a 35% renewable share by 2030 and 50% by 2050. Offshore wind potential up to 50 gigawatts and 4.8 gigawatts of nuclear energy are being factored into our long-term scenarios. Through the Mindanao-Visayas Interconnection Project, energized in 2024, we have for the first time unified our three main grids, while ongoing projects like the Cebu-Bohol Interconnection and the Batangas-Mindoro-Palawan links further demonstrate our determination to modernize our grid and expand access. These milestones are not isolated achievements. They are the foundation upon which we build regional integration. Regionally, the Philippines is a committed partner in the BIMPPIP. In 2023, we joined Brunei, Indonesia, and Malaysia in agreeing to conduct a feasibility study on cross-border interconnection with results expected this year. In September 2024, during consultations led by the ASEAN Center for Energy, we presented our progress and reaffirmed our readiness for multilateral power trade. We're also advancing frameworks for renewable energy certificates with bilateral and national meetings held in Manila and Tagaytay to harmonize markets across the BIMP sub-region. Most recently, the Philippines expressed its strong support for Sarawak's proposal to export surplus hydropower via Sabah into Mindanao, underscoring our openness to new regional trade flows. We recognize, however, the challenges. Our grid operates at 60 Hz, while our BIMP neighbors operate at 50 Hz. This requires deployment of high-voltage current interconnections, which are technically demanding and capital-intensive. Yet, we view this not as a barrier, but as an opportunity to pioneer cutting-edge solutions that will enhance resilience and sustainability across our shared region. Madam Chair, the Philippines is clear in its vision to align national development with regional cooperation. Our integrated power development roadmap and active BIMPPIP engagement illustrate how national ambition and regional solidarity reinforce each other. We believe that the momentum we are building through feasibility studies, renewable market harmonization, and interconnection projects must now be matched with financing innovation, technical cooperation, and collective political will. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, Delegate from the Philippines. Are there any more country statements or interventions from the floor? I recognize Japan. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So we support the proposal to task the working group with further consideration of future milestones, and we thank the Secretariat for the pre-session document. As we move forward, as we stated in the last agenda, we think that it's essential to approach our work with the dual objective of improving energy access and advancing decarbonization. This requires embracing the concept of one goal, various pathways, and promoting an orderly transition. In practical terms, this means ensuring dispatchable power generation, such as gas-fired power plants, to address risks of energy supply disruptions caused by natural disasters and other emergencies. And second, considering the full range of technologies, not only variable renewable energy, but also transitional solutions such as gas-fired generation, hydrogen and ammonia co-firing and dedicated use, carbon capture and storage, and nuclear power, etc. With regard to the establishment of milestones suggested by the Secretariat in the pre-session documents, we note the current document does not clearly specify what new milestones are envisioned by the Secretariat and proposed for possible consideration. As these discussions may influence future budget programming, we request that the working group to possibly share these outcomes, or making meeting records publicly available through ACPR, for example, through its website. If any major shifts or additions are being considered, we hope that this will be perhaps shared or put for consideration at the next committee meeting. We seek the Secretariat's guidance on these points. Thank you.
I thank the delegate from Japan for your intervention. I will defer to the Secretariat to respond.
Thank you, Delegate from Japan, for the first the support, but also the very important points raised, all very well noted. On the specific questions about how the milestones will be developed, at the moment we don't have a specific list proposed. We want to use the expert working group as the vehicle to develop a new set of milestones, and I think with full consideration of the priorities of member states, and within the existing mandates and within the existing programmatic work of the expert working group. Well noted that you'd like those brought to ACPR, certainly something we can take on board, but the goal would be to bring them to the committee or ministerial meeting actually in 2027 for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you to the Secretariat for their response. I recognize the United States. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. I just had two short comments on the proposed decision, and I think overall we support the concept. However, we just wanted to add two thoughts. One, we encourage the expert working group, where we have not been particularly active, to make sure that these milestones are realistic and focused. These should have outcomes. They should not be talk shop. More opportunities to talk, more opportunities to exchange, but outcome focused, I think is important to us. Secondly, I would just reiterate the U.S.'s stance on the SDGs and making sure these are tiable not just to the SDGs, which we now oppose, but to real outcomes that serve real people within the region. Thank you.
I thank the delegate from the United States. Your points have been noted by the Secretariat. If there are no more country statements or intervention from the floor, I will open the floor for international organizations, if any. If not, I see no more requests from the floor. I would like to thank you all for these informative statements under the agenda item 3B. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I see no more requests for the floor. I would like to thank you for these informative statements. And at this juncture, I would invite delegations to consider the draft decision as contained in document ESCAP/CE4/4. The draft decision reads as follows. The Committee on Energy notes the progress made on the implementation of the Regional Roadmap on Power System Connectivity, promoting cross-border electricity connectivity for sustainable development and requests the Secretariat to support through the Expert Working Group on Energy Connectivity, the development of new milestones for the regional roadmap for the period to 2035 for consideration by member states. Would any delegation wish to intervene specifically on the text proposed? I recognize Japan. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Just to address some of the uncertainties that we felt in the text, which we had asked questions for, we do have some suggested clarity to be brought forward. So after the period to 2035, oh, hang on. I was looking at a different, oh, sorry, I was looking at a different decision. Can I just come back? Sorry.
Any other intervention? Okay, back to Japan.
Okay, so after 2035, comma, as relevant and as applicable to most member states. For consideration by member states within existing mandates and available resources. So we'd like to have the mandate and the available resource in there. Within existing mandates and available resources. But hang on, for consideration? Maybe the within existing mandates and available resources should come after the for consideration by member states, but I would appreciate the Secretariat to clean up the English there. Comma. Yeah. Should that be, so I if you can help me with the English there, in terms of the location, maybe, yeah. Thank you. Oh, and maybe in terms of the clarity with regard to this being submitted for approval, the milestones to be submitted for approval at the next session of the Committee on Energy. A statement of that nature would be useful in this decision text, I would think. So that it's a time-bound request. Thank you. I mean, for example, you know, just for your consideration, these milestones to be shared through the ACPR website with any substantial revisions to the roadmap to be submitted for approval at the next session of the Committee on Energy. This is one example, but this is what we envision in terms of a time frame being added there. To be shared through the ACPR website with any substantial revisions to the roadmap to be submitted for approval at the next session of the Committee on Energy. But anything that the Secretariat really has in mind in terms of the time frame that you are thinking about.
Thank you, Japan, for your intervention. Is the proposed text as amended acceptable to all delegations? Cool. Yeah. Oh, I recognize Iran. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While we welcome the contribution of delegation of Japan. A request for further clarification regarding as relevant and as applicable to most member states. So what does it mean? Yeah, thank you.
I don't mind it being all. So I will subject this to open discussion. I just understand that the issues are quite specific to the geographies of member states, but if you see an acceptable language.
Okay, I recognize the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. I recognise where we're getting to with these additions from the distinguished delegate from Japan, but I note that we've now got a much longer decision. And similarly, had a question around, so the regional roadmap is supposed to be applicable for the entirety of the Asia-Pacific region. I know that the expert working group has quite broad representation, although perhaps not as much as we'd like to see from, for obvious reasons, from the Pacific. So I just wonder if the language as is, where you say is relevant and is applicable to most, that you're actually excluding what might be quite particular milestones that you might need for, smaller islands versus others that are landlocked, etc. So I just don't want us to add language that would exclude being able to have relevant milestones that would capture the whole region. So I'd prefer to just take that out rather than add something that would limit us, but open to alternatives. And similarly, I wonder whether, rather than that additional sentence, after for consideration by member states, we can say for consideration by member states at the next ministerial. Would that just allow us to be able, and then presumably for the next ministerial, you would have to share these milestones through documentation in advance through the ACPR website as would normally be expected. But again, grateful for clarification on if that text would alter the usual processes or not. Thank you.
Thank you, UK. I will turn it over to the Secretariat for comments. I'll recognize Japan first before I take it back to the Secretariat.
Well, I can facilitate the work. Yeah, you can take out from before within existing mandates and maybe put new relevant milestones. Is that new? So take out the, you can just take out that. New relevant milestones. And we're fine with the intervention by the United Kingdom on at the next. Did we decide on a ministerial or it's a committee? It's set by the declaration. Okay, so if you can spell out what the name of that actual event is, that would be great. And I would also state the year.
Thank you, Japan. Now over to the Secretariat.
Yeah, the next Intergovernmental Energy meeting will be the Ministerial Asia-Pacific Energy Forum in 2027. That is also one of the agenda items we will review tomorrow. But definitely that will be in 2027. So our target is from this expert working group to review the milestone, then submit it to the intergovernmental meeting. That is APEF 2027. And also I want to just explain your addition for the last sentence.
Right, right. Because, not every country access to this, but every time when we have expert working group meetings, we will have the report, which is on the website, is accessible by all the member countries. Yeah. So you agree to delete that one? Okay.
Thank you, Secretariat. Now I recognize India. You have the floor.
So in the sentence, the Japan has proposed with existing mandates and available resources. I think we should add one feasibility aspect also within existing mandates, comma, feasibility and available resources.
Is the proposed text as amended acceptable to all delegations? Okay, thank you. Distinguished delegates, for your constructive comments. I see there are no further comments. I would then request the Secretariat to include the text of this draft decision in the draft report to be considered on Friday for its adoption. Thank you. Should I? Since we still have time, we will continue to agenda item 3C. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we shall now take up agenda item 3C, maintaining reliable, responsible, and sustainable supply chains of minerals, materials, and technologies critical for energy transition and the possible application of the United Nations Resource Management System principles and requirements. The document pertaining to this agenda item is ESCAP/CE4/5 on maintaining reliable, responsible, and sustainable supply chains of minerals, materials, and technologies critical for energy transitions. Possible application of the United Nations Resource Management System principles and requirements. We will begin with the presentation from the Secretariat on this topic. Before I give the floor to the Secretariat to do the presentation, I will give the floor to the United States. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. My condolences on the length of that title, which obscured your vision of my flag. I just had a quick question for my Russian colleague. It sounded like in your last intervention you were putting forward a recommendation, and I wondered if we were going to review that recommendation today so that we would have time to share it with our capitals overnight. Just welcome a clarification on that. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to invite the Russian Federation delegate. Take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Responding to that question, yes, we have to confirm that we did submit actually and clearly read out the proposal for recommendation, not decision, recommendation. And we submitted that recommendation to the Secretariat as appropriate today. So then it would be up to the Secretariat when to put it for consideration. And I understand they have to circulate it for the audience, and that might be the decision of the member states when we deem it appropriate to consider. And we did not insist on immediate consideration of this recommendation today, well understanding that the delegations would need time at least to read it and to wrap the head around this recommendation. So then any convenient time, the Secretariat might keep in mind that we will need to address this recommendation with a view of adoption of this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you to the delegate from the Russian Federation. I recognize Japan. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the clarification and the question. It was too fast for us to fully capture, so we would really appreciate to see it on the screen right now if it's possible, and then we can take it back to Capitals. Thank you.
Can we ask the conference service if they can put it up on the screen? If not, can that be circulated to members? I will turn the floor over to the Secretariat.
If I can just explain, we just received this paragraph, and this is a recommendation. And usually we will have the recommendation in the draft report. But as you request, you need the capital, to bring back to the capital. We should continue now with the agenda item. We move ahead, and then we will prepare this information. We'll share with you at the end of the day. Is that possible? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I will now turn it over to the Secretariat to make their presentation on the agenda item 3C. Before that, I will turn the floor over to China. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon to all colleagues. So we're happy to make my first statement in this meeting. And regarding the way forward, I noticed that there are two issues to be addressed. The first is the recommendation by Russian Federation. So definitely on that part, I agree with the Secretariat proposal. We need time to think about it and get instruction from Capital. And the second is about the moving forward with 3C, because we come here today afternoon with the expectation to only talk about 3A and B. We are not fully prepared for 3C yet. So my suggestion is that we can still dictate to the adhere to the original work plan and start our work on the 3C tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Delegate? So the recommendation posed by China is that we defer the 3C to tomorrow. However, there are members that are ready for the session, so I will pose to the members if you want to proceed. Yeah, what we can do is we proceed with the statements, but then on the decision, we can defer that to tomorrow. Is that acceptable? Go ahead, China.
Madam Chair, definitely you have my full support to your work and as a chair to make this meeting as successful as possible. But I'm sorry that since we're still waiting for instruction on this agenda item, so I'm not sure whether we are going to make a statement or not as Chinese delegation. So maybe we can, how to say, still use the original work plan and start our work tomorrow. I totally understand the eagerness of the whole committee to move forward with the discussion on 3C. Definitely, I'm also looking forward to that. So let's get fully prepared for tomorrow's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, China. I recognize Japan. You have the floor.
So just a question to the Secretariat. Do you have like the usual PowerPoint explanation that you wanted to give us, or so you do have that? So maybe one question is maybe we can get that as food for thought as we go through the agenda. So maybe the Secretariat's portion, we can use it. And I'm also, the explanation of the agenda, you usually have a PowerPoint presentation on each agenda. Do you have that for 3C, or? So maybe we can get that background information so that we have food for thought overnight also based on your information, acknowledging that you are under resource constraints and we won't be able to have extended hours.
I'll turn it over to the Secretariat.
Thank you very much, distinguished delegates from China and also distinguished delegates from Japan. So we fully understand your concerns and also your request. And also at the same time, we also respect our the program. We have to full use of the time. So if you can think about, we start with the presentation for this agenda item 3C and share the information, and we save some time for tomorrow. And then since we still have time left, we just go back to the recommendations proposed by the delegation from Russian Federation. And also we can just have a few minutes before 4 o'clock to have the discussion about this one. And then you can use this information if you want to bring back to Capitol. And we can come back tomorrow. Yeah, we really want to use up this time and to save more time for tomorrow discussion. I hope you agree on this.
Okay. I will now invite the Secretariat to proceed with their presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So the lengthy title for this section of the agenda comes from the Ministerial Declaration text, which we hewed as closely to as possible when deciding to put this document together. But the main points this document raises is that the Asia-Pacific region is both a major producer and consumer of minerals that are deemed to be critical for clean energy transitions. Demand for these minerals is projected to rise significantly, or surge as we have here, creating both opportunities but also sustainability challenges. We highlight in particular in the document the challenges of fragmented governance, outdated rules, and weak enforcement, which together or independently can drive environmental and social risks, underscoring the need for integrated and transparent management frameworks. Linked to that, in the Minister Declaration, there's a call for member states to consider the application of the UN Resource Management System, or UNRMS, which has a set of principles and requirements that provide a voluntary global standard for sustainable resource governance, focusing on life cycle management, circularity, and social engagement. We also highlighted the outcomes of the Secretary General's panel on critical energy transition minerals, which also had a set of principles and actionable recommendations, emphasizing, among other things, human rights, equity, transparency, and traceability across value chains. Within our region, we have found the experiences show that collaboration can turn mineral wealth into inclusive growth, but within the Asia-Pacific context, and especially among ESCAP member states, there's no dedicated platform for dialogue on sustainable minerals development, and that is what this agenda item focuses on primarily. And with that, I'll happily turn back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you to the Secretariat for the information. As proposed by the Secretariat, we will now go back to the recommendation by the Russian Federation. However, I think the request from Japan was for the documents to be circulated on the presentation by the Secretariat on the item. Yeah, for their reference. So with that, you have in front of you the recommendation from the Russian Federation. It says, the committee acknowledging the potential of research on clean energy technologies and the development, deployment, commercialization, availability, accessibility, and affordability of such technologies for supplying affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, thus accelerating the pace of progress towards Sustainable Development Goal 7, invites its members and associate members to enhance international cooperation to facilitate access to modern civil nuclear technologies such as small modular reactors, innovative designs that are inherently safer, more economically feasible, and have a better fuel efficiency. I will open the floor for any comments, if any. I recognize Japan. You have the floor.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask the Russian Federation, in the last part of the sentence for my, to be able to explain to capital by more and better, what are you comparing to specifically? Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The idea behind the suggestion here is to give like an idea. The idea to give an idea. Yeah, sure. Sorry. The meaning of this of this phrasing is to say that in comparison to traditional supply of electricity to remote areas, small modular reactors installed in those areas would be a more economically feasible solution. But this is just like we're not specifically insisting on this formulation. We can of course adjust the language if there is an appetite from other delegations. Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Japan?
So I guess my question was than something, I guess more something than.
If that helps, I mean, we can remove the comparison from this paragraph and redesign it, saying innovative designs that are a safe, economically feasible, and a better fuel efficient solution, without comparing to any other modes. That would be, I think, easier to digest. Thank you.
Any more questions to the Russian Federation? The floor is open. Please feel free to ask question.
May I again, Madam, just to help the conference officer. Innovative designs that are a safe, economically feasible, and efficient solution. A safe, economically feasible, and efficient solution.
I recognize the United Kingdom. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies, this may be a slightly uninformed question, but a number of different delegations today raised recommendations in different ways, so perhaps not as specifically in terms of a particular proposal, but just recommendations for what the Secretariat should work on. How do those then get incorporated within the reporting as compared to this specific recommendation? Because that would influence our view on this. You know, would this put a disproportionate light on the specific solution around SMRs when actually you've had lots of recommendations on lots of different technologies? And so perhaps if all of that was supposed to be captured in some way, then this would be less of an issue, depending on the reporting. Thank you.
Thank you to the United Kingdom for their comments. I will defer it to the Secretariat to answer your question.
Thank you for distinguished delegates from United Kingdom. Actually, that's a very good point. Usually when we prepare the report, the first part will be the decisions agreed by the committee. So that is exactly what we discussed today. And then the other recommendations we'll put as recommendations after the decisions. We'll just collect all this from the country statement, and then that will be the draft report for your review.
I recognize Japan. You have the floor.
So thank you to the UK for raising that point, which is quite correct. And just wondering, so if the Secretariat is collating all these points that were made, is it possible to get a view of these at the end of the day tomorrow? So not right before we adopt these things, but before.
when we prepare the report, we have the two part. One is the decisions and then the recommendations. And we will reflect the country statement with some suggestions that will clearly indicate like the one country made the statement recommended like to strengthen cooperation based on this ESCAP platform. So I just also want to get the clarification from the Russian Federation. So if you want to make this as a recommendation after the decision, so that we need to get all the member countries to agree on that, so we can include in the draft report. That's also why I think the member country asked that they will send this back to capital. They need this paragraph. So that could be also, I need the distinguished delegation from Russian Federation to clarify that.
Thank you. I mean, of course, when we were moving forward this suggestion, the idea was that it would be incorporated in the report, along with other recommendations which come up from the statements made during the committee. So it's not about we don't see this recommendation as the only recommendation coming out of the discussion. So it's just our suggestion based on the deliberations we've had and the ideas we also expressed as a delegation, that this recommendation can be considered by the committee in a number of other recommendations from other areas and other sources of energy and other areas of cooperation. Because otherwise it would look a bit strange that the committee come up with only one recommendation. On the placement of this recommendation and which part of the report we fully rely on the Secretariat. So the idea is that this probably, if the committee agrees, could be one of the conclusions as part of the deliberations of the committee. And the placement in the report, in this case, I mean, we are flexible on this only. Thank you.
So if I understand your point, so I think that will be the similar as the other member countries made this statement and also suggestions, recommendations in the statement. So that will be part of the proceedings.
Well, as it currently stands and is currently formulated, it's our suggestion to the report and suggestion to the committee, to other committee members to consider including this recommendation made by the committee. I mean, if there is a reluctance from any member of the committee to include this recommendation, then we would of course rephrase it. But as now, I mean, if we correctly understand the procedure and organization of the committee session, now is the time for delegations to suggest their language for inclusion in the report. And that's exactly what we've done. Of course, we haven't seen the whole text, and none of us have seen the whole text. It's just we give this proposal in advance to give chance for other delegations to consider it with the capitals. And once we come up to considering the whole report, the delegations could come up with a position on this specific proposal. And this is a proposal, again, for consideration of the committee and adoption by the committee, not by only our delegation.
So if this is the intention from the Russian delegation, so I think this will be the recommendation from the committee. It's different with the recommendations in the proceedings. So that means we will have the two draft decisions which already proposed by the Secretariat, and one is already endorsed, and the second one tomorrow will do it. But this one will, right after the decisions, will have recommendations from the committee. And then the other member countries, the recommendations in their statement will be the proceedings part. So that means this recommendation we need all the member countries to review to agree on it. I think this is a similar, if you look at the other intergovernmental meetings, we have this recommendations part, yeah.
Okay, I recognize the United Kingdom. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for those clarifications. So then that does distinguish this recommendation from all of the other recommendations that others have been making in their statements, which would then require a moment where we would be able as a committee to reflect based on the feedback we get from capitals as to whether we collectively agree with this recommendation as opposed to it just being something that's written as one delegation suggested, etc. When would that moment come? Would it be at the end of the Friday, or is there a particular moment where we would be able to reflect on whether there is widespread support for this particular recommendation? And then secondly, for all of the other recommendations that have been made by member states, there is potentially some that have been recommended by multiple. And so then there's more consensus behind them. Will they in any way kind of be distinguished within the account of proceedings? I'm just wondering how you get that balance amongst all the issues that have been decided, because if we have just one recommendation that's purely focused on SMRs, it creates more of a focus there than perhaps has been discussed over the week. Thank you.
Thank you, United Kingdom. I recognize Japan. The floor is yours.
I'm just anticipating what may come back from Capitol is that, one of the strong messages that they really wanted to point out is the point that there are very many diverse pathways. And I think we did cite ISMR as one of them, but it's really one of them. And I'm just kind of wondering whether this is going to open a can of worms with other, additional recommendations being proposed. So, just a consideration to the floor that maybe, one of the ways forward is to do this through the account of proceeds where, I know that typically it's just say members or a member, et cetera, but maybe if this particular member wants citation from them, maybe, I don't know whether the secretary can find a way to do so, but perhaps that is a more equitable way for. I'm just speaking out loud, but I can anticipate that they would want to create an additional recommendation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Japan. I recognize the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Thank you, madam. Well, that's answering the comments made. When we moved, and when I spoke previously on this proposal that we move forward, I specifically mentioned that we would expect the Secretariat also to come up with other recommendations coming from the committee deliberations. Because there was, for instance, a very good proposal made by the colleague from the UK earlier today, speaking about the holistic approach for implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. So I don't think the committee would argue with that statement. So it also maybe formed, maybe transformed to the shape of recommendations. Because of course, otherwise, if there is only recommendation of the committee that is made on the SMRs, that would, of course, look a bit strange for people reading this document earlier. But as before, these meetings have been arranged, as far as I recollect, based on the deliberations we've had and the proposals suggested by the delegations, the Secretariat would prepare a number of recommendations coming up from the deliberations, especially around those proposals which most likely would be supported by the whole committee. So the committee would come up with a number, a whole list of recommendations. And our intention with this paragraph is just only include this paragraph to this long list. If it's a standalone paragraph, of course, it's a problem for the delegations. But the whole purpose, I think, of this exercise of the Intergovernmental Committee is to formulate a number of recommendations based on the initiatives and proposals made by the national delegations. those would in turn form a number, like a bulk of recommendations by the committee for the future work of the Secretariat in the field of energy. So again, this is how we see the recommendations part should look like. So it would be based on the number of statements made by the delegations today, not only this one.
Okay, Secretariat.
I thank you for all the distinguished delegates for the comment. For distinguished delegates from Russian Federation, as I mentioned, for the other delegates, the statement that will be reflected in the proceedings. If we also take this as a part of that, do you think it's one of the options? You think we can do that? Otherwise, this will be, like you said, to looks like awkward. You have only one recommendation, which you need to get all the consensus from member states, and even take time to get the capital's clearance. But I think if we do that, we still can reflect this information, but it's based included in the proceedings. So we will only come with the two decisions, which is already included in the pre-session document for review.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam. Well, in this case, if we include this specific paragraph in the proceedings as an idea expressed by one delegation, followed by other ideas expressed by other delegation, the whole outcome document of the committee would be only enlisting the ideas suggested by the national delegations, without any common recommendations agreed by the committee as such. So if, I don't know, a person outside of this building would read this paper, it would look as there are like 50 delegations who gathered in one room, everyone expressed a view, then they just left Bangkok. So I think that like the whole purpose of the committee and the whole added value of the committee to the conference structure is to hear each other's views on the trends and developments of the energy sector and come up with, again, a number of jointly agreed by the committee, like together. This is like a multilateral intergovernmental body of recommendations for the energy sector. And that's why I again invite other delegations also to come up with their suggestions of the recommendations to be considered by the committee based on the national statements they've made. Because I've seen a number of proposals and a number of suggestions on how to proceed. So if any delegation is eager to transform it in the recommendations made by the committee, we would of course gladly consider it and most likely support it. Because that's the whole purpose, to come up with a jointly agreed and jointly adopted and recommendations on the way to move forward. That's how we see the purpose of this committee.
China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. And this is first time I see this paragraph, but I think that the current formula has answered the questions of some other distinguished delegates. So my delegation is okay with this formula to be reflected as a common recommendation or consensus, whatever you want to proceed with that. But we're okay with this formula. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Any other comments from the floor?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So if now I see the kind of discussion and also the point. So maybe this could be, we will make this available for all the delegates, and then let's see, give you some time and for more discussion. And I know, in the intergovernmental document, the report, we have even the previous one, we have the decisions and the recommendations. So if you think that is appropriate format, we can just, based on that kind of format to develop this kind of report. But we just want to let the member countries, you have more consultation and to give us guidance and advice. So which one is the best? I see now there's different views, but I still think there's maybe options so you can just continue the discussion. Yeah. I see the floor question.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We'll take this back and get some comments. I think, I just say for the record, we are supportive of small modular reactors. I think it's just trying to have that one standalone recommendation therefore appear as broad as possible. I did wonder whether we, in the same way in which the decisions have the support of the Secretariat in drafting, whether the Secretariat would be able to support in trying to encapsulate a recommendation that reflects what you've heard in the room. Or, because we could sort of go with what we would do in terms of drafting by committee here, but that could take some time, a lot of back and forth. So I wondered whether the Secretariat would be able to provide some helpful suggestions in trying to encapsulate what you've heard around this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, United Kingdom. Japan, you have the floor.
We echo the UK's request to think of more of a generic formulation, maybe by the Secretariat, and maybe can say including, because I think we heard several different types of modalities from member states, and as we all heard from each other, there are various, geographic realities, et cetera, that defines the appropriate choice of these modalities. So perhaps maybe as a common recommendation, maybe the Secretariat can take a first stab at creating a more inclusive language, and perhaps including this as one of them. Just an idea. Because my concern is that by unwittingly having this one recommendation, we are implicitly assigning a hierarchy to some of the recommendations, and that's the thought that I'm afraid that we would probably get back from Capitol.
Thank you, Japan. I'll have the Secretariat respond to your comments.
So I think all delegates, maybe you can recall, like last year, the resolution at the commission session. It's exactly ask, the decisions to be reviewed, to be included in the pre-session document, and also to share in advance. So if we do this, that's really difficult for us to have enough time to prepare to, collect all these recommendations from country statement. And I don't think we have time to do it, follow the current procedures. So if like a member state, you give us the text, and we can just circulate, and to get all the countries to review. If that is consensus, we can just move forward for that one. Like this one is circulated with this text. So if the other member countries want to do the same thing, I think that could be possible. Alternatively, that I mentioned earlier, as also other countries mentioned, included in the country statement, their recommendations. this could be also part of the proceedings from to be reflected. So that means that no recommendations, just for one item. We have decisions and the proceeding. That could be another option. So just leave that for the member countries to give us advice, which one you think is feasible and practical, and also is doable.
United States, you have the floor.
Thanks. Just a follow-up question for the Secretariat. We will have time tomorrow to review this again and go through line edits like we've done on the decisions, and we did on one decision, and we typically do on these types of things while we're here. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. But if you provide like the text, like this one, the recommendations come from member states, that could be also included for the review. That's also mainly come from the member states. The request is ask Secretariat to do this draft text from the country statement. That is very difficult for us. Yeah. So.
Go ahead, United States.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm referring just to this one, and just want to be sure we'll have time to go over it again as a group, because I know we'll have edits to this at a minimum, and I can't forecast where we'll be, but I would imagine I'm not alone in that sentiment.
Go ahead, Secretary.
Okay. Thank you. So I think if I understand it correctly, so this paragraph we will circulate as recommendations, and if there's any other member country want to suggest based on the country statement for exactly text for this kind of recommendations, that could be also part of the review tomorrow. But we need to get this text, the draft, as soon as possible, because that will we can circulate it to all the delegations.
Any other comments? Or clarification needed from the floor? So my understanding from the Secretariat that this proposed text that's on the screen will be circulated to all members for your review, and we will discuss further this text tomorrow. And if there are any other recommendations from other member countries, to also feel free to send the Secretariat. But it's recommended that if there will be any other recommendations from other members, to be sent in today so that the Secretariat can collate it for tomorrow. Any further comments? If not, then this brings us to the end of the proceedings for this afternoon. I would now call on the Secretariat to make any announcements, if any.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, as mandated by the Commission, the Secretariat provides delegations with the opportunity to assess the result and the quality of the sessions through a feedback questionnaire. So in this connection, we would like to request each participant to complete a brief online survey through the link available on the committee webpage under the Overview tab. You can also scan the link to the survey from QR code on the screen. So your feedback will help us to improve the quality of the services and support the delegations. Thank you for taking the time to complete the survey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretariat. On this note, I adjourn this meeting. We shall reconvene tomorrow morning at 10 to continue with the proceedings. The meeting is now adjourned.